Hey guys, in today's video I will be doing another tropical update on tropical storms Marco and Laura. Marco yesterday did become a hurricane, so Marco became the third hurricane of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. Though ever since about 8:11 p.m. last night through now, the very strong shear that Marco has started to encounter as it started to make its closest approach now towards the Louisiana, Mississippi coastline has really weakened the storm. So now it's at a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm with the pressure now at 1,005 millibars, moving northwest at 10 miles per hour. So in a way, it's thankfully the storm will be much weaker than anticipated when it will bring its impacts. Though there's still tropical storm warnings up for the central and eastern parts of the Louisiana coastline, including New Orleans and Lake Pontchartrain, to the Mississippi coastline and the very western, third or so of the Alabama coastline. And you can see it's forecast to start to curve more generally westward as it's maybe it'll make a quick little landfall here along the eastern part of the Louisiana coastline, and then it'll continue west towards Texas and start to dissipate. But as it's doing that curve west, it will continue to bring those heavier rain bands and showers and storms over Louisiana, around the New Orleans area, these coastal parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and even as of right now, even the Florida Panhandle and Alabama especially are feeling the most right now of the rain bands, the heavy rain from Marco. So that will continue to curve towards the north and west, and then west into Louisiana and Mississippi. So it'll start to go. The weather will start to go downhill for those areas as we go throughout the rest of today. Into tomorrow. So now let's look at the arrival time of tropical storm force winds, or at least a reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds. You can see for the southeastern Louisiana around New Orleans, it'll get to you guys around overnight tonight, early in the morning around 2-3 a.m. It'll get extremely windy going into tonight and into early tomorrow. So that'll be really when you'll see your peak amount of strong winds. Now that may continue into the earlier parts of tomorrow morning when you all wake up, and that heavy rain may still stick around for a little bit going into tomorrow morning, but then it should move out going into tomorrow around noon in the afternoon. So it's really the rain should be generally the rain and wind should generally be in and out kind of quickly, but you will have a decent amount of time where you will be feeling very strong winds and having a lot of heavy rainfall coming down. Let's look at they have rainfall here. No, oh, it's interesting. Okay. The wind speed probabilities for Marco, you can see this is kind of including Laura as well, but this is for Marco over here near New Orleans. See, New Orleans itself has up to around a 60% chance of tropical storm force winds. Near the coast, it's a bit higher, towards 70 to 80% chance of tropical storm force winds. You guys will definitely feel the tropical storm force winds. And that will be accompanied with that very heavy rain. So, and then we'll have Laura, and that'll just amplify that a lot as well. So that's not going to be good whatsoever at all. Now, the peak surge forecast now is calling for 2 to 4 feet for the southeastern Louisiana coastline up through parts of the Mississippi coastline, and now it seems like Pontchartrain, for New Orleans itself, doesn't seem like it'll be experiencing much storm surge, so that's a big relief. Though that's not to say that you may see the lakes around New Orleans. You may see some of those waters rise a bit, but you won't have any storm surge flooding, unlike these much more coastal areas. So really, I think for New Orleans itself, be prepared for be prepared for some of the roads to maybe be flooded a bit from the heavy rainfall, and accompanied by those pretty strong winds could bring down some trees and power lines. So there could still be some power outages for New Orleans, but in terms of the added-on flooding from storm surge, that shouldn't be too much of a worry now, especially since the storm has weakened a good bit. All right, now let's look at Laura. Laura has been actually intensifying quite a bit over the past day or so because of the fact that it has been going much farther south of these land masses, even though we thought originally that it would go pretty much straight over these like Hispaniola and Cuba. But it's gone generally south of these areas. It did kind of go over the DR and Haiti a bit, but not enough where the storm was able to retain itself and continue to sustain its strength. And then once it went back over water, it continued to intensify. So now it's at a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Pressure is down to 1,000 millibars and is moving west-northwest at 21 miles per hour. So it is booking it towards the west-northwest. Now, because of that fast movement, it should be entering the Gulf of Mexico, going into overnight into very early tomorrow morning, around 3 a.m. So pretty much when Marco's tropical storm force winds will be impacting New Orleans, that's when Laura will be entering the Gulf. And then once Laura enters the Gulf, it will just really have no problem intensifying whatsoever. It will have the very warm sea surface temperatures to use as fuel to really intensify. Plus, there won't be any wind shear or any dry air at all because Marco will take care of that problem, in fact. And so Laura could definitely become a much stronger system. Right now, the NHC is forecasting Laura to peak at around 105 miles per hour right up towards landfall. So with that, there is the chance that it could get stronger than 105 miles per hour. So there is that somewhat decent chance that it could get to major hurricane status and peak at around a Cat 3 hurricane. So prepare, even though with the current forecast, especially for you folks living in, especially as of right now, especially for those people who live in western Louisiana, eastern Texas around Houston, and kind of central Louisiana as well, you may look at the forecast and say, oh, okay, so it's going to only peak at a 105 mile per hour category 2. That's a strong category 2, but prepare for a major hurricane, because there is a chance that Laura could become a major hurricane and make landfall as a major hurricane. So prepare yourself for a bit of a stronger system than is what is forecast right now, because there are tons of cases where these types of tropical systems, it's forecast to become only this strong, and then it comes in at an even stronger system, and people are totally caught off guard. They expect it to only be what was originally forecast. So please make sure you are prepared for potentially a slightly stronger system than what is forecast. Now, we'll look at now for Laura. I'll show you the arrival time of tropical storm force winds, the wind speed probabilities for Laura, the U.S. rainfall potential, and the flash flooding potential. All right, so let's first look at the arrival time of tropical storm force winds. And you can see for Louisiana, Texas, it should start to arrive more towards around the time everyone wakes up, towards 8 a.m. on Wednesday. And then towards Wednesday at 8 p.m. going to late evening on Wednesday into early nighttime hours, the tropical storm force winds should arrive for very northern Texas, northern Mississippi, getting into Arkansas. So those tropical storm force winds will start to arrive going into the next few days. Now let's look at the probability of tropical storm force winds, and you can see for western central Louisiana, it ranges from about it really ranges from about 60 to even 80-90%. So there is a very good chance that you will definitely see tropical storm force winds if you live anywhere from the central coastal Louisiana to Lake Charles towards Houston. So that is really generally right now the bullseye for the best chance of tropical storm force winds. So prepare for very strong winds to potentially be the, and with that it could bring the case of you could lose power. There could be a lot of power outages. Could bring a lot of trees down to add to that potential for power outages. So really make sure you are prepared for this storm as much as possible. Oh, actually, first I'll show you the rainfall potential. The rainfall potential for Laura, it's really, of course, again, for western Louisiana, because that's where the highest amount of tropical storm force winds is going to be, because that is where Laura right now is projected to make landfall. And the highest amount of rainfall, if you're in the greens, it's anywhere up to 4 inches of rainfall. If you're in the yellow, it's between 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. And if you're in this area of orange, you could potentially expect anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of rainfall. So that is getting towards moderate to major amounts of rainfall. So that could definitely be pretty bad for flooding. Now, actually, if we look at the flash flooding potential, you can see that yellow region is slight chance at 10%, but then for where that area of where Laura will most likely make landfall as of right now, you have a moderate chance of flash flooding at 30% chance of flooding. So please make sure you are prepared for Laura's impacts, because it could really be a huge problem with those strong winds blowing with the very heavy rain, with all that flooding and then the potential for power outages. It's going to be pretty rough for those people living in those areas. So again, the track could still kind of change a bit, could still shift a bit farther to the east or farther to the west. So continue to monitor both these systems, especially Laura if you live in the western and central parts of Louisiana, and even if you live in eastern Texas, you should also monitor Laura as well. Now let's go to tropical tidbits, and I'll show you what each system looks on satellite. Here's Laura. Oh, we gotta let this load in first. Okay. It's kind of annoying. But you can see from what I'm able to show you here that Laura has kind of lost a bit of convection around where the center is, and the center seems to be around there. But you can see it's still retained itself generally pretty well. It still has a lot of that core convection, a lot of heavy, strong convection with those constant high blowups of thunderstorms. There's still about up to negative 80-degree cloud tops, so even some negative 90-degree cloud tops as well. But as it continues to move towards the west-northwest, getting towards the western part of Cuba and then into the Gulf, it will continue to become stronger and will continue to look a lot better, and with that, it will most likely start to get even closer to becoming a hurricane. So it should become a hurricane. Honestly, it's forecast to become a hurricane fairly soon. Here's the hurricane model track guidance for Laura, and you can see they pretty much all generally have it making landfall towards the western parts of Louisiana, maybe eastern Texas. So the folks living there, please make sure you are really prepared for this system. Now, the GEFS ensemble model track guidance. Oh, sorry about that. Oh man, I had to sneeze. Sorry. The GFS model ensemble track guidance shows the system becoming quite strong as it's making landfall. Gets down to the low 990 millibars. There's even the chance that it could get down to around between 970 and 980 millibars. So the system, again, could become fairly strong fairly quickly. There is that good potential that it could even rapidly intensify. So with that chance, there is a good potential for it to exceed the current forecast peak for the system. Here's the GEPS ensemble model track guidance. This is the CMC model track guidance. You can see the CMC is even more bullish than the GEFS model track guidance, ensemble model track guidance, showing the system getting down to around 978 millibars making landfall. And that is also entirely possible. Again, with that chance of rapid intensification, that pressure and the wind speeds could really drop and go up a lot higher than the current forecast. And, here's the current model intensity guidance. It's a pretty strong tropical storm, moderate to strong tropical storm. And you can see all of the models taken into hurricane status. So again, it will definitely get to Category 1, definitely has a chance to get to Category 2, and there is some of a chance that it could get to Cat 3. So again, right now, the current forecast is for the system to get to a strong Cat 2. Prepare for the chance that it could get to a Cat 3, a weak to moderate Cat 3. So, that is, you really gotta prepare for even a worse scenario than what is currently forecast, because you really never know with these types of systems, especially with these tropical systems heading into the Gulf, because the Gulf is notorious for having systems rapidly intensify and becoming much stronger than forecasted. Now, oh wait, hold on, no, I want to show you Marco. Now, here's Marco. You can see the satellite imagery. It has really started to look a lot worse because of that extremely heavy shear intruding into the system. So you can see there's like barely any cloud tops around the center. There's really none. The center is fully exposed. All those cloud tops are displaced far towards the north and east of the center, and the Florida Panhandle mainly is being affected by those heavy convection bursts and rain and thunderstorms. And as Marco continues to move towards the northwest and then west, it will get that amount of convection over Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and then it will start to continue to weaken and then dissipate as it's heading towards Texas. Now, here's the model ensemble, the hurricane model track guidance, and you can see they generally have it going towards the north and west and then kind of west. It's much wider and spread out than what it should be, honestly. It looks pretty much definite that it will curve west just offshore or onshore of Louisiana and then continue west and dissipate towards Texas. And you can see with the GFS and GEPS ensemble model track guidance, they're forecasting for a pretty weak system because of the fact that it is weakening quite rapidly. Here's the model intensity guidance, forecast model intensity guidance. You can see it's a mid-grade, weak to mid-grade tropical storm, and it will continue to rapidly weaken as it's continuing towards the northwest and west, and then it'll dissipate after about 36 to 48 hours. So we're really only giving another about day and a half, 2 days. Really, that's really what I wanted to show you with the storms on here. I'm not going to show you the models because, well, I mean, we generally really know what the models are showing. The Laura's forecast to be a pretty strong system. Marco's going to dissipate quite soon. The ocean analysis for why Laura's going to be able to really weaken is because the La Nina is continuing to form, and the Gulf is really warm. It's really the warmest part of the entire Atlantic basin, so Laura will not have any problem intensifying whatsoever with that. So now let's go to the 2020 Atlantic Hurricane Season Wikipedia page, and we have now total of 14 total depressions, 13 total storms, 3 hurricanes, because Marco became a hurricane yesterday, so now we have another hurricane for the books for this year's hurricane season. 0 major hurricanes, though I think Laura could be our first major hurricane, so that could change as well. We have a total of 59 fatalities and a total damage of somewhere above $5.76 billion of damage. So, again, we're really rapidly going through the names of the list, so this is pretty crazy stuff. We've already gone through the M name, and the next name on the list is Nana, and then Omar. And as we're heading through the rest of August into September, we're continuing to go through the peak of the season. We're going to continue to really see those systems potentially form and be named and get pretty strong. So we're really going to have to watch out for a good amount of the rest of the season. Even going towards the end of the season, going into October even. October could be a pretty active month maybe for tropical systems. So definitely that's still pretty far out from now, but there is always that chance, especially with this year. So again, really hope you enjoyed. Hopefully you found this information really useful, and really hope everyone who lives in Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, really make sure you're prepared. I really hope you're prepared for these systems, especially for Laura. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, comment, and if you're a first-time viewer, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.